Alright everyone, welcome back to Inkwell Insights, the channel dedicated to unlocking the wisdom hidden within the pages of books and applying it to our lives. We're not just about summaries here, we're about transformation. We're about taking those dusty volumes off the shelf and breathing life into their ideas, letting them shape us, challenge us, and ultimately, help us become better versions of ourselves. Have you ever felt silenced? Have you ever felt invisible? Have you ever witnessed injustice and felt powerless to act? What does it truly mean to find your voice in a world that often tries to stifle it? How can empathy bridge the seemingly unbridgeable divides that separate us? And, perhaps most importantly, how can we learn from the past to build a more just and equitable future? Today, we're diving deep into a novel that tackles these profound questions head-on. The Help by Kathryn Stockett. This isn't just another book club recommendation, it's a story that continues to resonate, sparking important conversations about race, privilege, and the power of individual courage. Stockett's novel, while fictional, offers a powerful lens through which to examine the complexities of the American South during the Civil Rights era. It's a book that stays with you long after you turn the final page, prompting introspection and a renewed commitment to understanding and dismantling systemic inequality. We'll explore the profound theme of finding and using your voice in the face of adversity, a message that feels incredibly relevant even today. Finding your voice? It seems so simple, doesn't it? A basic human right, easily exercised. But is it? In a world saturated with opinions, where social media amplifies every thought, is true voice, the kind that stems from deep conviction and courage, readily available to everyone? Or is it often buried beneath layers of fear, societal pressure, and the internalized narratives we've absorbed over a lifetime? We see it everywhere. The artist who self-censors their work to avoid criticism. The employee who stays silent in a meeting despite witnessing unethical behavior. The friend who avoids difficult conversations for fear of rocking the boat. Each of these silences, each act of self-suppression, chips away at the very core of who we are. Think about the politician who compromises their principles for political gain, losing sight of the very people they are supposed to represent. Consider the entrepreneur who sacrifices their well-being and relationships in the relentless pursuit of success, only to find themselves feeling empty and unfulfilled despite all their achievements. Picture the social media influencer who crafts a carefully curated image of perfection, hiding their true struggles and anxieties behind a mask of flawless filters. Look at the news anchor who parrots talking points without questioning their validity, contributing to the spread of misinformation and eroding public trust. Or the stay-at-home parent who subordinates their own dreams and aspirations to the needs of their family, slowly losing touch with their own identity and passions. And, on a larger scale, we see this played out in historical events, where entire groups of people are systematically silenced and marginalized, their voices erased from the dominant narrative. As Maya Angelou so eloquently put it, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. That untold story, that suppressed voice, festers and grows, poisoning our potential and hindering our ability to truly connect with ourselves and others. The Help dives into this very agony, giving voice to those who were systematically denied it for generations. Set in 1960s Mississippi, the novel centers on the lives of Black maids working in white households. These women, Aibileen and Minny Jackson being the central figures, are the backbone of their families and the caretakers of the white children they raise. Yet, they are treated as second-class citizens, subjected to demeaning rules, blatant racism, and a constant barrage of microaggressions. Enter Eugenia Skeeter, a young white woman who returns home from college with aspirations of becoming a writer. Skeeter, disturbed by the blatant injustices she witnesses, decides to write a book from the perspective of the Black maids, giving them a platform to share their stories and expose the truth about their experiences. This seemingly simple act of writing becomes a revolutionary act of defiance, challenging the deeply ingrained social norms of the time and risking the safety and livelihoods of everyone involved. Stockett's main stance can be distilled down to the power of empathy, courage, and storytelling to dismantle prejudice and promote social change. She emphasizes that listening to and amplifying marginalized voices is crucial for understanding and addressing systemic inequality. The book doesn't offer a neatly packaged solution to racism, but it does highlight the importance of individual acts of resistance and the potential for collective action to challenge the status quo. She defines courage not as the absence of fear, but as the willingness to act despite it. It's the courage to speak truth to power, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's risky. It's the courage to challenge our own biases and assumptions, and to actively work towards creating a more just and equitable world. Empathy, for Stockett, is the bridge that connects us to others. It's the ability to see the world from another person's perspective, to understand their experiences, and to feel their pain. Without empathy, we remain trapped in our own echo chambers, blind to the suffering of others and unable to truly connect with humanity. The book essentially unfolds around three key ideas. First, the significance of individual storytelling in challenging oppressive systems. Through Aibileen, Minny, and the other maids who contribute to Skeeter's book, Stockett demonstrates how sharing personal narratives can expose the human cost of prejudice and inspire social change. Aibileen's quiet dignity and unwavering love for the children she cares for stand in stark contrast to the casual cruelty she endures from their parents. Her stories, filled with both heartbreak and resilience, force the reader to confront the reality of racial inequality in a deeply personal way. Minny, with her fiery spirit and sharp wit, provides a much-needed dose of humor and defiance. Her refusal to be silenced, even in the face of threats and intimidation, becomes a powerful symbol of resistance. Together, their stories paint a vivid and unflinching portrait of the lives of Black maids in the South, challenging the prevailing stereotypes and humanizing those who had been systematically dehumanized. A real-life example of this can be seen in the testimonies of Holocaust survivors. Their stories, passed down through generations, serve as a constant reminder of the horrors of the past and a powerful call to action to prevent such atrocities from ever happening again. Or consider the impact of personal narratives in the LGBTQ+ rights movement. By sharing their experiences of discrimination and oppression, individuals have helped to humanize the issue and build support for equality. Second, the complexities of interracial relationships in a deeply segregated society. Skeeter's friendship with Aibileen and Minny is fraught with tension and challenges, reflecting the inherent power imbalances and social constraints of the time. While Skeeter's intentions are good, she often struggles to fully understand the experiences of the Black women she is trying to help. She makes mistakes, she has blind spots, and she sometimes prioritizes her own ambitions over their safety. This highlights the importance of acknowledging our own privilege and limitations when engaging in cross-cultural dialogue and working towards social justice. Think about the relationship between a wealthy philanthropist and the community they are trying to assist. While their intentions may be noble, they can often fall into the trap of imposing their own solutions without truly understanding the needs and desires of the people they are trying to help. This underscores the importance of community-led initiatives and the need to empower marginalized groups to shape their own destinies. Another example is the dynamic between a white teacher working in a predominantly Black school. They may strive to create an inclusive and equitable learning environment, but they must also be aware of their own biases and assumptions and actively work to challenge them. They need to listen to their students, learn from their experiences, and create a space where all voices are heard and valued. And third, the transformative power of finding one's voice and challenging societal norms. Throughout the novel, we see characters evolving and growing as they learn to speak up and stand up for what they believe in. Skeeter, initially naive and somewhat sheltered, undergoes a significant transformation as she becomes more aware of the injustices around her and more determined to use her voice to make a difference. Aibileen and Minny, who have been silenced for so long, find strength and empowerment in sharing their stories and challenging the racist status quo. This highlights the importance of individual agency and the potential for each of us to contribute to social change, no matter how small our actions may seem. Consider the example of a whistleblower who exposes corporate corruption or government misconduct. Their decision to speak out, often at great personal risk, can have a profound impact on society, holding powerful institutions accountable and promoting transparency. Or think about the activist who organizes protests and rallies to raise awareness about environmental issues. Their actions, combined with the efforts of countless others, can influence public policy and inspire collective action to protect our planet. The practical value of the help lies in its ability to inspire empathy and action. It reminds us that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, individual acts of courage and compassion can make a difference. It encourages us to listen to and amplify marginalized voices, to challenge our own biases and assumptions, and to actively work towards creating a more just and equitable world. The book's philosophy is rooted in the belief that we are all interconnected and that our collective well-being depends on our ability to recognize and address the suffering of others. It's a call to embrace our shared humanity and to work together to build a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Now, let's reflect a bit more deeply on the themes within the help. How often do we, perhaps unknowingly, perpetuate the very cycles of injustice that we claim to abhor? How often do we turn a blind eye to the suffering of others, simply because it's easier to stay silent than to speak up? How often do we allow fear to dictate our actions, preventing us from standing up for what is right? There are several common behaviors, misconceptions, and habits that often hinder our ability to find and use our voices effectively. One prevalent issue is living in the past, clinging to outdated beliefs and prejudices that prevent us from seeing the world with fresh eyes. This is vividly illustrated in the character of Hilly Holbrook, whose rigid adherence to tradition and unwavering belief in racial superiority blinds her to the humanity of the Black women in her community. She's so entrenched in the past that she's unable to see the present clearly, let alone imagine a future where equality is possible. Think of the older generation who struggles to accept changing social norms, clinging to traditional values and beliefs that may no longer be relevant in today's world. They may resist progress, clinging to outdated ideas about gender roles, sexuality, or race, hindering their ability to connect with younger generations and understand their perspectives. Or consider the company that refuses to adapt to new technologies, clinging to outdated business practices that eventually lead to its downfall. Their inability to embrace change and innovate prevents them from staying competitive in a rapidly evolving market. As Sigmund Freud said, unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. The past, when left unexamined, can manifest in insidious ways, shaping our present and hindering our future. Another significant obstacle is fearing failure, which often paralyzes us and prevents us from taking risks, speaking up, or pursuing our dreams. We see this in Skeeter's initial hesitation to pursue her writing career, fearing the judgment of her mother and the expectations of her social circle. She's afraid to step outside the prescribed path for women of her time, even though she knows deep down that she's meant for something more. Consider the aspiring entrepreneur who never launches their business, fearing the possibility of financial ruin. They may have a brilliant idea, but their fear of failure prevents them from taking the necessary steps to bring it to fruition. Or think about the artist who never shares their work with the world, fearing criticism and rejection. They may have immense talent, but their fear of judgment keeps them hidden in the shadows. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek, as Joseph Campbell so wisely stated. Overcoming our fear of failure is essential for unlocking our potential and achieving our goals. Furthermore, seeking validation from others can be a major impediment to finding our authentic voice. When we constantly seek approval from external sources, we risk sacrificing our own values and beliefs to conform to the expectations of others. This is evident in several characters in The Help, who are more concerned with maintaining their social standing than with standing up for what is right. Imagine the teenager who changes their appearance and behavior to fit in with a particular group of friends. They may sacrifice their own individuality and values in order to gain acceptance, ultimately losing touch with who they truly are. Or consider the employee who agrees with their boss's decisions, even when they disagree, fearing that speaking out will jeopardize their career. They may compromise their own integrity in order to gain favor, ultimately undermining their own sense of self-worth. As Rumi said, "Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth." True validation comes from within, from living in alignment with our own values and beliefs. Then there's the tendency to avoid uncomfortable conversations, which often allows injustice to persist unchecked. This is particularly relevant in the context of the help, where the silence surrounding racial inequality allows prejudice to thrive. When we avoid difficult conversations, we miss opportunities to challenge harmful beliefs and promote understanding. Think about the family that avoids discussing politics at the dinner table, fearing that it will lead to arguments and conflict. They may miss opportunities to educate each other and challenge their own perspectives. Or consider the workplace where employees are afraid to speak up about issues of harassment or discrimination, fearing retaliation from their superiors. This silence allows these issues to fester and creates a toxic work environment. As Lao Tzu said, silence is a source of great strength. However, there is a difference between thoughtful silence and complicit silence. The former allows for reflection and contemplation, while the latter perpetuates injustice. And finally, the lack of empathy, which prevents us from understanding and connecting with others, particularly those who are different from us. Without empathy, we are unable to truly see the world from another person's perspective, making it difficult to challenge our own biases and assumptions. This is evident in the characters who treat the black maids as invisible, failing to recognize their humanity or acknowledge their contributions. Consider the person who dismisses the experiences of immigrants, failing to understand the challenges they face in adapting to a new culture. They may make assumptions about their motives and fail to appreciate their resilience and contributions to society. Or think about the person who judges someone based on their appearance or lifestyle, failing to see the individual behind the stereotype. They may miss opportunities to connect with others on a deeper level and build meaningful relationships. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion, said the Dalai Lama. Cultivating empathy is essential for building bridges and creating a more inclusive and compassionate world. So, how can we apply the lessons of the help to overcome these challenges and find our own voices? The answer, in many ways, lies in the practice of slowing down. Slowing down allows us to become more present, more mindful, and more attuned to the needs of ourselves and others. It allows us to break free from the frantic pace of modern life and to reconnect with our inner selves. When we slow down, we create space for reflection, for empathy, and for action. Slowing down allows us to examine our own biases and assumptions. In our fast-paced world, we often operate on autopilot, reacting to situations based on ingrained beliefs and prejudices. By slowing down, we can consciously challenge these biases and assumptions, opening ourselves up to new perspectives and understandings. This involves actively seeking out diverse viewpoints, listening to the experiences of others, and being willing to question our own beliefs. Instead of immediately judging someone based on their appearance or background, take a moment to consider their story. Instead of assuming that you know what's best for someone else, ask them what they need. Instead of dismissing an opinion that differs from your own, try to understand the reasoning behind it. Slowing down enables us to cultivate empathy and compassion. When we rush through life, we often fail to notice the suffering of others. By slowing down, we can become more attuned to the needs of those around us, offering support and understanding. This involves practicing active listening, paying attention to nonverbal cues, and putting ourselves in other people's shoes. Volunteer your time at a local charity, spend time with someone who is different from you, or simply take a moment to offer a kind word to a stranger. Slowing down empowers us to find our authentic voice. In a world that constantly bombards us with messages about who we should be, it can be difficult to discern our own true voice. By slowing down, we can create space for self-reflection, identifying our values, our beliefs, and our passions. This involves journaling, meditating, spending time in nature, or engaging in activities that bring us joy. Ask yourself what truly matters to you. What are you passionate about? What kind of world do you want to create? Slowing down encourages us to speak up against injustice. When we are constantly rushing through life, we may not notice the injustices that are happening around us. By slowing down, we can become more aware of these injustices and take action to address them. This involves challenging discriminatory behavior, advocating for social justice, and supporting organizations that are working to create a more equitable world. Speak out against prejudice and discrimination. Support policies that promote equality, and use your voice to amplify the voices of those who are marginalized. Slowing down allows us to practice self-care. In order to be effective agents of change, we must first take care of ourselves. By slowing down, we can prioritize our physical, mental, and emotional well-being, ensuring that we have the energy and resilience to continue fighting for justice. This involves getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, exercising regularly, and engaging in activities that help us to relax and de-stress. Remember that self-care is not selfish, it is essential for our well-being and for our ability to make a positive impact on the world. As Gandhi said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." This quote encapsulates the essence of the help and the power of individual action to create social change. We all have the potential to make a difference, no matter how small our actions may seem. It starts with finding our voice, using it to speak truth to power, and working towards a more just and equitable world. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Said Martin Luther King Jr., "Let's strive to be beacons of light and love in a world that desperately needs both." We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope, he also said. Hope is the engine of change, the fuel that keeps us moving forward even when the road ahead seems long and difficult. The Help isn't just a story set in a particular time and place, it's a timeless reminder of the importance of empathy, courage, and the power of individual voices to challenge injustice. It reminds us that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, we all have the ability to make a difference. It's a call to action, urging us to examine our own biases and assumptions, to listen to the experiences of others, and to actively work towards creating a more just and equitable world. The value of this book lies not just in its captivating narrative, but in its enduring message, that true change begins with individual acts of courage, compassion, and a willingness to listen to the untold stories around us. So, I encourage you, after listening to this review, to take a moment to reflect on your own life. Where do you see opportunities to use your voice to make a difference? What are some of the biases and assumptions that you might be holding on to, perhaps unconsciously? How can you cultivate more empathy and compassion in your daily interactions? Perhaps try this week to really listen to someone. Not just hear the words they are saying, but truly listen to understand their perspective, their experiences, their fears, and their hopes. Share this video or article with someone who might find it valuable. Leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts on the Help and its message. Or take one small action this week inspired by the book. Challenge a stereotype, speak up against injustice, or simply offer a kind word to someone who needs it. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of the Help. I hope this review has sparked your curiosity, provided valuable insights, and encouraged you to reflect deeply on your own life and your role in creating a more just and equitable world. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen and engage with these ideas. I look forward to meeting you again here at Inkwell Insights, where we'll continue to unlock the wisdom within the pages of books and apply it to our lives. Remember, the only way to do great work is to love what you do, as Steve Jobs said. Find your passion, find your voice, and use it to make the world a better place. Until next time, keep reading, keep reflecting, and keep growing.